After a tough spring filled with renewed lockdowns and travel restrictions, life in Turkey is getting back to normal. Curfews are gone, and the country recently broke into the top 10 when it comes to vaccines administered. More than 50 million people in Turkey have received at least one dose, with 15 million fully covered. Add that all up, and you get a picture of what the summer travel season should hold. Russia's lifting of a flight ban on Turkey also had an immediate impact. 15,000 Russians have been arriving in Turkey a day over the past week. The country's scenic spots have been waiting for the influx as health measures take hold to ensure the safety of both tourism workers and travelers. There's also some positive news on Turkey's own vaccine, which is currently undergoing phase 3 trials. But fears and uncertainty still linger, especially over the Delta variant of COVID-19 and the new surges it's causing throughout Europe and Asia. And to break that all down, joining me from Istanbul is Irshad Shaikh. He is the head of the World Health Organization European Center in Istanbul, and from Madrid, Jennifer Iduh. She is the head of research and development at the European Travel Commission. A warm welcome to you both. Irshad, Turkey aggressively administered coronavirus jabs, especially in June, making it into the top 10 in the world. And now life has turned to normal. What's your take on that? And do you believe it is too soon?
I think first we must commend Turkey for the work that it has done, and as within the basket of countries, advanced economies, it has done relatively quite well. But again, the lesson that we are learning is not the lesson of averages, but granularities. So while nationally we have 1 in 2 doses, 1 in 4 at least 1 dose, but we need to make sure that the remaining population, especially those vaccine hesitant or hard to reach, we increase coverage as soon as possible, because the variant is circulating globally, and it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, we will touch on that, because, I mean, Jennifer, now that the latest coronavirus measures to reduce the number of cases seem to have worked with the latest inoculation drive. So, Jennifer, is Turkey's tourism sector good to go? And can it, for example, get closer to the pre-pandemic period?
Well, it's true that we're halfway through the year and the pandemic is not over yet. We are watching how the mass vaccinations are rapidly catching up across Europe. There are around 60% of adults that have already received the first dose, while 25% are fully vaccinated. And this is actually helping to bring down the number of infections, and the epidemiological situation in Europe is therefore improving. So we do have reasons to be slightly optimistic. Also in Turkey, vaccine rollouts are moving fast, and this is helping us to lift travel restrictions, lifting bans also on travelers from third countries, and this will also support the reopening over the summer season. Turkey is also part of the list of countries that are reopening. As of yesterday, COVID-19 restrictions have been relaxed, since the number of cases are gradually going down, and also thanks to fast inoculation rate.
Yeah, but Irshad, despite some positive data, there are some fears, especially with the Delta variant of COVID-19. How worried we should be?
Well, I think, as the other colleague rightly said, we are only halfway done. And with this virus, we know no one is safe till everyone is safe. So even small pockets and leaving no one behind is the lesson. But we still have over 40 or 50% of the population is still to be reached. So faster we reach, faster we can defeat this variant. But again, till that time, all bets are off. We have done well. We have learned a lot from previous lockdowns to move from massive and mass lockdowns to smart lockdowns, looking at the communities which are faring relatively worse than others. Rather than punishing everyone equally, we need to be selective. So I do not see a picture of en mass lockdowns, but at the same time also we must remember, while we are vaccinating, it does not mean public health measures need to go. Masking, distancing, especially in those who are vulnerable, immunocompromised, and where vaccination has not reached full, definitely these measures will need to continue.
So, Jennifer, what kind of setbacks the world tourism industry likely to face if this new variant, let's say, continue to rise, and how it will impact the world tourism industry if restrictions were put back?
Despite we have an encouraging outlook for the summer season, there are still, of course, downside risks, which are around the COVID-19 new variants, which could potentially lead to a return of travel restrictions and also disrupt our reopening plans. This new Delta variant, which has proven to be highly contagious, continues to spread globally, and it's already been identified in several countries. And because of this, a number of nations have already banned or tightened controls on travelers from those countries where this variant is widespread. We have, for example, Germany, which requires all UK travelers to self-isolate for 2 weeks, whether or not they have been vaccinated. And the revival of Turkey's tourism industry will also depend on these travel bans, especially from some of its largest source markets, such as Russia, for example, which only lifted the travel ban on Turkey on the 21st of June.
Yes, and on the other hand, health officials in Russia have warned that the Delta variant is surging in the country and cases almost doubled in a month, right, Irshad? And that's largely due to country's low vaccination rate. So what balance has to be struck to ensure health and keep tourism alive?
You know, we say that vaccines do not save lives, vaccination does. So it is an issue of production, supply, distribution, access, equity. So while we are seeing advanced economies catching up and now talking about potentially third booster dose, there are countries in Africa where they have not, the operation has not even seen a first dose. So equity is very critical. And today WHO and COVAX actually made the call that those countries which are now opening borders also, including Europe and European Union, to respect all those vaccines which have been also been approved by WHO. Any subset of approved vaccines will further exacerbate inequities between haves and have-nots. So again, we want a homogeneously vaccinated population. That is the only way out of this pandemic. Let me again repeat for all your viewers, no one is safe till everyone is safe. We may be vaccinated today and feel safe. It's only a matter of time. And from Alpha to Delta and now Delta Plus and moving forward, virus is trying to be one step ahead of us.
So, Jennifer, Western and some rich countries rolling out vaccines at high rates is an encouraging sign for tourism industry, as we've mentioned. But how has the asymmetric rollout of COVID-19 vaccines affected especially the developing countries' tourism sectors?
At the European Travel Commission, it's true that our focus is on European countries. We are aware that the recovery of the pandemic on the tourism sector will be gradual. Returning to the status quo will not be immediately, and this definitely requires a strong involvement not only from governments and destinations, but also on potential travelers to adopt the measures that are being recommended. So it's true that the recovery will take place at different levels. We know that the vaccination rate is developing differently across different countries and different regions. This is something we would need to take into account when looking at the recovery pace of destinations. Having the different rollout and the development running out or being implemented at different levels across regions is a factor that will determine the development of the pandemic globally.
Okay, so Irshad, Turkey will soon develop, hopefully, its own vaccine called Turkovac. What's your take on the phase 3 trials of this vaccine, and how could this help both to Turkey and maybe the regional countries?
I think it's a very encouraging sign and music to the ears of WHO. Many countries are working on producing their own vaccine. Again, looking at the global market, we have 3 billion people received first dose. We have still long ways to go. Over 5 billion is still population in the world that need to see still the first dose. So more doses come out, more countries prepare, and knowing Turkey, the way it helped with global solidarity during pandemic. It helped over 100 countries and over 30 international organizations with COVID supplies and other medical supplies and PPE. Knowing Turkey, we anticipate that when the vaccine is produced, it will also be on humanitarian grounds, especially in places where we are seeing protracted conflict, and accessibility and affordability is an issue. Vaccine from Turkey would be very good for its own population, of course, and for the future, but also it bodes very well for the science, technology, and research and development sector for Turkey to be ready with their own products. So it helps with them with this pandemic and more lessons learned and readiness for the next pandemic.
Okay, so Jennifer, do you believe that Turkey's coronavirus measures and safe tourism certificate programs are enough to convince foreign tourists? And what needs to be done for global travel and restart travel?
I think I'll start from your last question first. At TTC, we've always been clear in our messaging. In the coming months, nations across Europe and globally need to harmonize global travel regulations to be able to restart travel in a safe and responsible way. And if this doesn't happen, we will continue to see or face the challenges that we experienced already during last year's patchy reopening. So changing and uncoordinated messages and regulations, lack of clarity, and eventually all these factors will just confuse potential travelers and make them reluctant to visit European destinations. So this would also apply to Turkey. It's essential to establish common rules and measures and common solutions that will provide timely information and clear information. And this is consistency that we need in our messaging and regulations. And all these aspects together are actually critical to restart tourism sector and restore also the confidence on consumers, especially now over this summer season.
Irshad, you have emphasized the importance of cooperation worldwide in beating this pandemic. How has, in your opinion, varying patchwork rules around the world impacted people's motivations towards this pandemic?
I think that's a great question. And I think jury is still out. But again, just with today's this green vaccination pass from European Union, and then some countries, even within EU, which had received Chinese vaccines, Sinovac and Sinopharm, which were not approved by European Medical Agency, EMA, then we are creating these two layers of population movement, access. And again, for tourism, if we really want to open, the world has to see a uniform accessibility and the vaccination pass between countries to improve efficiency of tourism sector as well. It will only increase clogging at the airports, departure and arrival airports if we do not have uniform rules. Unless and until, like COVID has taught us, we work together at the design stage to plan, execute, monitor, and improve together, we will see this patchwork, which will only increase confusion, hesitancy, and may affect inadvertently vaccine acceptance, because people would say, if I cannot go to place where I want to go by getting vaccine, then their initial hesitation would only increase.
Yeah, and besides and apart from all these regulations, we keep our masks on. Jennifer, Irshad, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk.